Hi, I'm Ann Coulter. Welcome to my Substack video. I have the hero of the week and my general hero, Representative Thomas Massie. Welcome and congratulations.
Thank you, Ann. This is unusual. I'm used to fighting, but I normally get the crap kicked out of me. But I fight to give people hope. This time I fought and won. And what we won on was something for survivors of sex trafficking. We forced, against their will, the president, the vice president, the FBI director, the attorney general, the speaker of the House, all of those folks battled me until the very end, and then they all gave in.
In a big way. Yeah, and we'll get to Clay Higgins in a moment. Can you describe? I mean, I was sort of following this from a distance. I knew it was you and Representative Ro Khanna pushing this, and I guess Marjorie Taylor Greene was there from the beginning. But describe the beginning of this, and I, there must have been a lot of Republicans coming up to you and saying, I'd love to, but I can't lose my primary. Trump is threatening to primary me. What was it like at the beginning, and what were other Republicans saying to you?
Well, the day I started this, I got 12 co-sponsors on the bill, and I thought, man, we only need 3 signatures, so we're good here. And immediately, the speaker changed his tune, I think because the president told him to change his tune. And then the president came out and said it was a hostile act toward him if you signed my discharge petition. And ultimately, I ended up a few votes shy, a few signatures shy of getting this done, or at least that's what they thought. So I got Lauren Boebert, Nancy Mace, and Marjorie Taylor Greene, and they deserve all the credit in the world. They have been threatened, in some cases physically, obviously politically, and they kept their names on this. But it was kind of fun in the beginning. Everybody thought, we've stalled Massie. He can't get any more signatures and he needs more signatures. What they forgot was there were openings in Congress that were going to get sworn in, it's vacancies in special elections. And so when the second one of those it was a Congresswoman, Grijalva, when the second one won hers, the speaker wouldn't swear her in for like 49 days to keep her from being the 218th signature. And of course, ultimately, the shutdown ended. He had to swear her in. They couldn't get Lauren Boebert's name off, even though they took her to the Situation Room at the White House. I think she gave him what for in that Situation Room instead of the other way around.
And those, by the way, I'm glad you came on my Substack because I know all about that Representative Grovalda, or however you say her name, because she was pretty much a co-host at MSNBC because of all of this. And I was thinking most of the people who are interviewing you now, their entire audiences hate you on everything else. My audience won't hate you. What do you think? I mean, I've disagreed with Donald Trump, especially on his failure to build the wall and deport illegals, term one. I've never seen worse political instincts than what he did on this. And not just, sort of the gentle, let's move on. We don't think there's that much to call it a hoax and a hostile act, and the vicious post he sent about you that was spinning around my email. What on earth, have you ever seen worse political instincts from someone who generally has pretty good political instincts, whether or not he follows through?
No, I haven't. And I think his instincts come from going to those rallies and getting feedback from the crowds. And he's really good at that, at reading a crowd and understanding what they like and what they don't like. And I think he's been insulated from those crowds for too long, and he's forgotten. And he can't hear the boos when he, for instance, insults my marriage or insults Marjorie Taylor Greene or things like that. But the biggest insult of all was to the survivors. And we had a press conference with them, the biggest press conference ever since I've been in Congress. I don't know if there was a bigger one before that, but it was right here at the House Triangle with the Capitol in the background. And we gave, the survivors an opportunity to speak right when Donald Trump was calling it a hoax. And they begged him to meet with them, and he would not. They said, we would like to meet with you so that, you can humanize us and not call us a hoax or the things that we've been through, the shame and the abuse that we've suffered. So it was just horrible, horrible instincts on his part, and also not the right thing to do.
Yes, clearly not that. What do you think it obviously looks very bad, and obviously the liberal media think it's because, he was part of the pedophile ring. Um, I personally don't think it's that, but what do you think his motive was?
I don't think he's going to be criminally implicated in any of these files. And as far as embarrassment goes, I mean, we've already had the hearings on whether he should have paid the porn star out of his campaign account or his personal account. Uh, so I think he's beyond whatever kind of embarrassment might come to him out of this. I mean, I sat through those here. I took up for him. I said, this is not a campaign expense. You were right to pay her off with a regular check through your attorney. Uh, and that was the only debate, not whether it had happened or not. So he's beyond embarrassment, and that's fine. He's got the antibodies. But I think there are, well, I know he's got rich and powerful friends on these lists. There are 6 billionaires on the list. There's a movie producer, there's a politician, there's a foreign prince. Even the Saudi princes were mixed up there with Epstein. So that'll come out. That's going to come out. And I'll tell you why, because first of all, we passed this effort as a law. There have been subpoenas. Those are, you hope they respond to the subpoenas and they hope they give you everything, but they can drag that out. And there have been strongly worded letters and there have been resolutions of, declaring that these files should be released, but there's never been a law. And I think that's what people understand, the gravity of what we accomplished and how steep that hill was to climb. They were like, Massie, your bill is so dead on arrival in the Senate, and the president will never sign this thing. This is a fool's errand. You're Don Quixote, blah, blah, blah. And because the reason we did it as a law is because there are criminal, repercussions for people in the administration if they don't release these files within 30 days. I mean, we put a quick timeline on this. We're not giving them 6 months in this bill. And the president signed it. So he can't say, I wasn't aware of the law. Look, this thing, lawyers have been going back and forth through my bill trying to find problems and loopholes and everything else. And they're like, damn, this is a well-written piece of legislation. We better fight it. So for everybody who says, oh, you gave them too many loopholes, no, we conceded the constitutional arguments in the bill and, about classification and things like that. But we didn't give them any wiggle room, really. If we had, they wouldn't have fought it as hard as they did and taken on so much political, bilge water, I would say. They almost sank their own ship.
Yes, I wrote about it yesterday. It's very, very well written. There is no wiggle room. I'm predicting there is still going to be some game playing.
Yeah.
One thing I just want to throw in, I actually don't think he had sex with Stormy Daniels. Not important. Most people do.
I think he gave her money.
Oh yeah, during the campaign, sure. But
Yeah.
he gave, he gave a doorman money, not to start talking smack about him. Yes, I agree with that. What
if he did? Here's the thing. It's not criminal, okay? And there are going to be a lot of people exposed in these files who aren't criminals, okay? They just decided it'd be fun to take a private jet to Rape Island, okay? And they're not criminals. Maybe they didn't partake in the sex parties or whatever, but it's going to be embarrassing to know that that's the kind of crowd you hung out with.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. You mentioned, and this is a point I've been making repeatedly with Attorney General Bondi, saying there's no client list, like there's going to be a black book that has in gold lettering client list. No, we want the names. We want the names. I want the pictures. I absolutely want the pictures. You said the privacy of the victims. Okay, blur the faces of the victims. What I particularly want is beyond those who have been to Epstein Island. And that's pretty creepy by itself. According to Virginia Giffra, he required all the girls to walk around completely nude the whole time. It would be hard to hang out there and not think something's up. But the ones that they were pimped out to, and those are the names we want. If maybe even before, but if the Pam Bondi does not come through, I absolutely think you guys should read the names on the Senate floor. And, you can say this isn't proof of guilt, but just to be fair, give a lot of detail of what they're accused of.
Yeah, and I have already read one name into the official record in a hearing with Kash Patel, where I asked if he had seen the 302 forms that the FBI fills out when they do interviews with witnesses, because we know names reside in those forms. And he admitted to me that he was just basically trusting the people that work for him. Now, those are the people that work for the guy that worked for Biden, too. So I don't think he should trust them. He can't come in front of the Senate and say Jeffrey Epstein was the only person who abused any of these women. He can't say that with a straight face or any conviction if he's not done the diligence to look into these files. So I told him where it's at. Start with the 302 files. That's what the victims' lawyers told me.
You can watch complete episodes of Unsafe with Ann Coulter by subscribing to anncoulter.substack.com. That's anncoulter.substack.com. You can also listen to complete episodes for free at Ricochet.com. Choose Unsafe from the pull-down menu at the top of the page. That's Ricochet.com, your home for civil center right conversation on the web.